May I call the meeting to order? Thank you for attending the meeting of the subcommittee to study the formulation of long-term youth policy and development blueprint. This is the 7th meeting. Now, we've only got one substantive item on the agenda, and that is youth matters such as home ownership, financial management, and retirement protection plans. I'm sure we've all got a paper, CB 2145 2023-01. That's the paper provided by the administration. Let us welcome Mr. Clarence Leung, Undersecretary for Home and Youth Affairs, and his team to the meeting. May I remind members that if you'd like to speak, please keep to your seats because we will display your name on our screen. I'll determine the speaking time after I know how many members intend to speak. First, I give the floor to Mr. Clarence Leung, Undersecretary, to walk us through the paper. Thank you, members and Chairman of the committee. Together with the Housing Bureau, and also colleagues from the Financial Services and the Treasury Bureau, we would like to brief members on measures on matters related to home ownership, financial management, retirement protection plans of our young people. As said by President Xi at a meeting celebrating the 25th anniversary of Hong Kong's return to the motherland, we must help young people with their difficulties in education, employment, entrepreneurship, and home ownership so that more opportunities can be created for their development and accomplishment. We attach great importance to supporting young people. We want to become young people's confidants, advocates, and guides for the future and assist them in overcoming hurdles in education, employment, and entrepreneurship and ownership so that they can see hope and opportunities for the future. As young people grow up, they like to have their own space and eventually their own families. We must provide favorable environment and provide sufficient support for our young people so that through their hard work they can accumulate wealth and choose the path they like and realize their dreams. The government has done a lot to help our young people in home ownership, financial management, and retirement protection. Details can be found in the paper. I pause here, Chair. Myself and my colleagues are more than happy to take questions from members. Thank you, Undersecretary. All right, I open the floor. Now, there are 10 members who have pressed the request to speak button. I read out the names. Johnny Ng, Edward Leung, Nixie Lam, Lam Chun Sing, Lam So Wai, Tan Yue Heng, Yim Kong, Lilian Kwok, Kenneth Leung, and Yong Hoi Yen. 10. Each can have 4 minutes for questions and answers in the first round. If we have time, then we can have a second round. Dr. Johnny Ng. Thank you, Chairman. The topic is home ownership, financial management, and retirement protection for our young people. I'm concerned about our indebtedness among our young people. Now, when I first entered university, many institutions came to market credit cards. I'd like to know whether we have any data on indebtedness among our young people, and do we have any latest data on the consumption pattern of our young people, and how we can instill in them proper consumption habits so that they can be properly educated. I will give the floor to the Investment and Financial Education Council for the second question. As mentioned in the paper, because we have to implement the measures in the development blueprint, we have to strengthen the Youth Development Commission. We are going to set up a task force for all-rounded development of our young people, and there will be measures to help young people acquire prudent financial management and investment concepts. In my recent contacts with stakeholders, many financial institutions have indicated to me that they are happy to reach out to young people on a voluntary basis to help them to build up positive and appropriate financial management understanding. I give the floor to IFEC. Thank you. Just last year, we did a survey on loans or borrowings among young people. In the past year, there's been increase in borrowings taken by young people. 46% of the respondents told us that compared with the situation 1 year back, they had taken out more borrowings, mainly because of COVID-19, leading to reduced income and problems encountered at work. About 73% of them quoted such reasons, and some told us that there was increase in living expenses. About 40% of the respondents gave us that answer, and 35% of the respondents told us that they had some unexpected spending, leading to increase in borrowings. The IFEC is concerned about how young people use credit cards. In terms of the use of credit cards, in particular in the age group 18 to 39, it appears that many of them would settle their bills with minimum pay for those aged between 18 to 29. About 32% of the respondents would use cash overdraft. And then 28% of those aged between 29 and 39 would use cash advance. In some more serious cases, about 41% of the respondents aged between 18 and 29 are usually settled credit card bills with minimum payment. This is an issue of concern to us, and we have produced APIs to target young people, in particular, the operation of credit cards. You can continue. Yes, please. And we have liaised with post-secondary institutions. Hopefully, in the coming academic year, in their orientation camps, they can have time for financial management education, in particular the use of credit cards, since many university students would apply for one very soon. And we also give talks on financial management in universities. The most ideal situation is for universities to provide systematic financial management education to their students. Thank you. Mr. Edward Leung. Thank you. After reading the paper, I identified two very serious issues. And the first is 17% of our young people settled credit card bills with minimum pay. And the second issue is, in 2021, about 15% of the bankrupts were young people. Now, if you have borrowed $10,000, and if you only settle the minimum pay, it would take you 8 years to repay the whole bill. The interest rate is close to 35%. So instead of $10,000, 8 years, you have to repay $25,000. That's very serious. Young people do not have a strong sense of financial management. So, in terms of financial management, what is our education system doing? It appears that they only teach that in primary general studies and also in junior secondary citizenship, economics and society. There are only 2 lessons. I believe for most of us, we've forgotten what we had learned when we were in S1. And then there were only 2 lessons on that. 2 hours or so. So we have a problem with financial management education. In the U.S., in Illinois, there are few compulsory modules on financial management in senior secondary, and to graduate, students must take those modules. So we will consider doing the same in senior secondary school, so that students learn about financial management in senior secondary stage, not just in the junior stage.
So we start with Ms. Lee, and then the Secretary can supplement. Thank you. I fully agree with the member. All along, we have been actively, we hope that the Education Bureau will incorporate financial management into the curriculum of one of its subjects. Like you said, in Europe and the States, they have been very successful in this regard, and they have a higher, happiness index. We are very glad that in October last year, the Education Bureau announced that in the 2024-25, academic year, financial management will be incorporated into the curriculum of the Citizen Economics and Society, subject. That is a major progress for Hong Kong, and we will work closely with the Education Bureau to work out the new curriculum. As for the primary schools, all along we have been working with the Chinese University on a financial education program, incorporating elements of financial management into subjects like mathematics, Chinese, and English language, and we've achieved very good results. And we will showcase this scheme to the Education Bureau. Hopefully in future we can gradually incorporate financial management into the primary school curriculum. Undersecretary, like Ms. De Leong had said, the SAR government, especially the Home and Youth Affairs Bureau, we have seen that there are rooms for improvement in terms of financial management on the part of the young people. And for that, I'm really grateful for this opportunity to come here today to listen to your views. Going forward, like I said, under the Youth Development Committee, we have a task force which will closely monitor the situation and formulate appropriate measures to help young people build up the right financial management attitude. Ms. Lemchen, Nixie Lam, I'd like to share with members my experience working in the banking industry, teaching young primary school students and secondary school students about financial management. I have a strong recollection of teaching them to differentiate between necessities and non-necessities. That was more than 10 years ago, and they told me that necessity would mean the domestic helper. For them, a decade or so afterwards, these are the people who are only making minimum payment to settle their credit card bills. So young people in Hong Kong, many of them can't really differentiate between what are necessities and what are not, and how they should spend the money. So the ability to earn an income and how they spend the money, there is a gap there. Young people nowadays would tend to invest in products. I think we have to teach primary and secondary students to learn about this. And for young people who are starting their career, they may be starting to make investments, and they're inclined to invest in virtual investment products. According to the paper, in the Hong Kong Financial Management Framework document, basically they're talking about investment concept. They're not able to differentiate between different investment products. I think young people are most interested in this area. If we're not able to update the content to cover the newer financial products, they may not be interested to really know. So I think we need to enrich the content in light of the changing market conditions, so the young people can understand that the financial management tools that they employ and what are risks. Again, Ms. Lee would respond first, followed by the Undersecretary. Thank you. I fully agree with the member Actually, so actually our committee is under the SFC. We work closely with the SFC and other regulators, and we work very closely together. Whenever there are new investment products, we would first of all immediately inform the public and prepare up-to-date teaching materials. Regarding the newly emerging virtual financial products, we've actually produced many social media materials. We've organized campaigns and online games targeting specifically against young people to help them understand the nature of these products. The response has been very good. According to the survey we conducted, young people would tend to be interested in these virtual investment products. In the last survey we conducted, 23% of the young working adults are interested in making such investments. So in light of the member suggestion, we will continue to step up our promotion in this area. In March, it will be our financial management month, and we will, the spokesperson of the regulators will give more talks to explain to the public about these financial management products. Under Secretary, I agree with Ms. Lam, and I don't have anything further to add. Mr. Lam Chen Sing, thank you. Regarding financial management on the part of young people, one problem is that young people nowadays would tend to apply for student loans to the Student Loan Affairs Committee or Department. According to the government's figures, more than 6,000 students have been late with the payment of the student loans after they graduate. More than 3,000 graduates would actually have been, late with the payment with their non-means tested loans. Many students, when they apply for such loans, when they start their career, they have no idea at all, which is how much they have to repay for the loans upon their graduation and what percentage would that take up of their monthly income, how much they have to repay on a monthly and quarterly basis. They have no clue at all. Of course, young people may need such loans, during the course of their studies. But when they apply for such loans, can we step up the education so that they would be psychologically prepared and understand when they will need to start making repayment of the loans and how much such repayment will make up a percentage of their income. I think they need to know that well in advance. I think the IFEE also have contained on the website provide information regarding student loans, but apparently there's not too much of that. So at an earlier stage, I hope there could be more promotion and public education. Secondly, the government is now launching a scheme of creating a better future tomorrow. I hope the instructors can actually help build proper financial management attitude on the part of the students. Earlier studies have found that the students who took part in the scheme and the instructors don't really have a very close connection. Many of these students have not even contacted their instructors over a 3-month period. Since financial management is already on the agenda, so through this scheme, can we provide more suggestions and guidelines for the instructors so that students participating in the scheme would know during the secondary school stage that so that they can build up, sound financial management attitudes. The paper also said that under the Youth Development Committee, a there will be a task force responsible for helping with the full person development for young people, and which includes also the right financial management skills. I'd like to hear more details about that. I think the members have asked many questions. Perhaps we can have an answer to the first question first, and then we can take answer the second, third questions if there is a second round. I'd like to ask this Undersecretary, Mr. Lau, whether you have anything to respond. I'd like to thank Mr. Lam for his question regarding students applying for student loans and whether we would provide them with proper financial management education beforehand. I think we, in our scheme, part of our efforts include helping students to build up proper financial management, understanding. I understand that the Education Bureau had announced that in order to relieve the burden on the students when making repayment for the student loans, the government has now extended the period of repayment for these non-interest student loans. The government, especially the Education Bureau, is well aware of the situation and will come up with appropriate measures to deal with that issue. Ms. Lam So Wai? Mr. Rather. I think we are proactively reaching out to the tertiary institutions so that at the time of admission, they will conduct a comprehensive financial management briefing for their students, which include the operation of credit cards, and the students should actually make daily, management of their spending. I hope the tertiary institutions will work with us. The IFEC already have resources available, which can be either distributed to students, or we can also have workshops of them, and we will continue to do more work in those areas. Commissioner, I don't have anything further to add. One question raised was about student loans. I think the main function of student loans is to help students to have the financial means to actually help them with the studies. In our promotion, we tend to focus on the message that the student loan is only meant for students to actually cover their expenses during the course of the studies. I'd like to suggest that students should limit themselves to one question. Otherwise, the answers to their long questions will take up the time of the other members. Dr. Tang, I have a question regarding a specific housing policy for young people. For traditional public housing, the waiting time now for applicant is 6 years. For most of the young people in Hong Kong, they are able to afford the rent for the transitory housing. But by the time they have to leave, and if there is no proper follow-up, then you will not be able to pay the expensive, first down payment if they need to make a purchase of the property. So would there be plans to increase the continuity of such policies and consider how we can help young people? Could there be some sort of a bridging process? So after young people have lived in these youth hostels, can we also help them, allow them to continue to apply for HOS? And also, would there be special concessions for young people when they consider, buying the starter homes?
Ms. Chen, thank you. Ms. Lam talked about public housing as well as youth hostels. As we all know, the waiting list for PRH is very long, and so is the waiting time. And so we have to take care of different demands, and we accord priority to mainly applicants with families and also with elderly persons. We understand that young people have a demand for public housing as well. So the quota for young people has been increased from 8 to 10%. So every year we have 2,200 units for allocation to singletons. And when young people apply for public housing, they need not just apply for singleton flats or one-person flats. 40% of them are from households with people under 40 years old. So while we give priority to families, we are also taking care of young people. And as for home ownership, in our policy address, we have this idea of starter homes. Yesterday, it was announced that there would be a site for a new starter home development. As regards property prices, starter homes offer a discount. Details will be announced when the site is ready for disposal. Apart from starter homes, we have also got home ownership scheme that can help young people who need housing. If we look at the buyers of HOS flats, over half of them are young people below 40 years old. So apart from public housing, we are also taking care of young people in our HOS and starter homes schemes so that we can provide home ownership for our young people in a more speedy manner. I have nothing more to add, said the Undersecretary. All right, Mr. Tan Yueheng. Thank you, thank you, Chairman. I've got two questions. First is about youth home ownership. To address this problem, we need to provide more policies to help our young people to alleviate their burden. I think the greatest hurdle faced by our young people is that they don't have sufficient down payment. So when it comes to starter homes, the problem is a down payment. So it's about whether they can afford the down payment. Young people have just joined the workforce and their buying power is not so strong, but they are the future of our buying power. As they grow up, they have a bigger buying power, so there is no problem of their paying the mortgage. The question is how we can help them to afford the mortgage for their first home. For instance, can we provide a policy for young people so that we can lower the percentage of down payment required, or we can even waive the down payment altogether so that they can become homeowners? That's the first question. And the second question is retirement protection. The paper says that the administration will publicize to young people our retirement protection schemes. I understand that many young people are not too sure about the investment strategy under MPF schemes. Many of them don't know that they should consider their retirement protection right now. They have no such sense at all, not to mention how they make arrangements for future retirement. So the publicity and education of MPF investment has not reached out to the targeted groups. We should focus the workforce of this age group and give them retirement protection so that young people can attach more importance to the investment under MPF, and the returns from MPF have been on the low side because of the market situation. So even if you continue to contribute to your accounts until age 60, the ultimate benefits won't be able to support your retirement. So the administration should start from now consider increasing the tax deduction for MPF contributions. It should be a regular measure. I'd like to know whether there is any plans on the part of the government. All right, home ownership. And the second question is MPF investment. Now, if you don't have time for the second question, please provide a written reply. Mr. Clarence Leung, I thank member for your concern for youth home ownership and retirement protection. As mentioned in the paper, we have spared no efforts in identifying land for housing development to take care of both public and private housing needs. Meanwhile, we try to stabilize property prices and to create supply as well in order to lessen the burden on young people. We've introduced many measures to help young people to find their dreams and goals so that they can accumulate wealth and be able to afford homes. Hopefully, this can help them to become first-time owners. As for suggestions made by Dr. Tan, we will consider them. As mentioned by Presidency, we must help our young people to overcome their difficulties in 4 areas. Mr. Yim Kong, my question is related to Dr. Tan's and is about starter homes. Can we consider renting flats to young people first and then they can buy their own flats afterwards? Now, because many young people cannot afford the down payment, so can we first rent the flat to a young person first, and when he can pay the down payment, he can buy the flat? Can that be done? So rent to be followed by buying. Housing Department. Thank you. The idea of starter homes is to help people who can not afford private housing and yet not eligible for public housing. With regard to the concept of rent first, buy later, that involves a lot of factors, including the financial affordability of the housing authority. Yes, all factors will be considered. Any supplement? Nothing from me. Any follow-up, Mr. Yim? I hope a rent first, buy later can be considered. So if a young person can only afford his flat 5 years down the road, we should peg the price at the point now so as to lessen the burden on the young person. So it is an insurance against price escalation. All right. The Housing Bureau will consider that. All right, Ms. Lillian Kwok, I'm happy to see that the paper attaches a lot of significance to financial management education because this is an area we lag behind many places. When I was a student, I was taught principal and interest and savings, etc. But that is not regular financial management education, and it fails to enhance our financial literacy. I think we should teach our students proper values, and then they do not just look at the price itself. Rather, they should make the most appropriate choice so that they can fend for themselves better. In 2000, Scotland started financial management information or education in their curriculum. So they have different levels for their students. For our own country, they are also doing the same. In Fujian and Guangzhou, they've incorporated such education and information in the primary school curriculum. So we have fallen far behind in our own education system. So it's time for the administration to catch up. At least you have the financial management ambassador scheme in primary school, but perhaps because of the COVID-19 epidemic, you haven't extended it to the whole territory. Perhaps we can use technology. We can prepare apps so that even parents can play these games with their students. And in 2019, in Singapore, in their universities there, they have a compulsory module for their first year intake on financial management. So according to the IFEC, you would only encourage universities to do so. Will you ask universities to create or to include a mandatory module on financial management during university years? Ms. Lee, thank you. Your information is most useful, Ms. Kwok. I'm pleased to tell you that we have done this financial literacy monitor. In 2021 and 2022, the index of financial literacy among our youths have improved. We have followed OECD survey model. In 2019, the total score was 12.5, and it rose to more than 13 points in 2022. They have enhanced the financial literacy when it comes to how we can further reinforce education in this regard among primary school students in particular. We're working hard with universities and school principals, but then their curriculum is also very tight. So we're already doing what you suggested just now. We have prepared digitalized games and videos for parents, schools, teachers to use so that they can teach students financial management at any time they choose. Last year, we had Chinese proverbs for financial management. We produced cartoons. We have got 3 million hits since launching it in December last year. Hopefully, we can extend such videos and games to primary schools. Any supplements from the Secretary? Nothing from me. Thank you. Mr. Kenneth Leung. Thank you, Chair. It's important that young people learn financial management because after they graduate from university, they have their whole lives ahead of them that require financial management. I have been to different consultation forums and discussions with young people. I feel that they are rather pessimistic when it comes to home ownership. Now, we may think that this is an issue for them, but for young people, they feel that property prices are out of touch because they are just too dear. So can we have an alternative way to help our young people to become homeowners? In the land sale program announced yesterday, we understand that there will be a site in Chunwan for starters homes. Can the administration give us the details, such as the number of units that can be provided and also the pricing, please? And the second question is, when it comes to the down payment, I think that is the biggest hurdle for our young people. We talked about rent first and buy later, and also policies that favor young home ownership. But can we have a new form of mortgage plans, for instance, to encourage developers? We can even offer such plans for buying subsidized sale flats to help youth home ownership. Thank you.
Secretary. Well, I'll answer the two questions. First of all, the Development Bureau announced yesterday the lots which will be put up for sale. I believe that if members would like to have more information regarding the starter home scheme, I think you can invite the Development Bureau for more written materials. Regarding the starter home issue, we understand the challenges faced by young people in terms of home ownership. Regarding the down payment, we need to deal with that carefully. Other than young people who need to buy properties, we have to consider the financial risk involved in that suggestion. So going forward, we are prepared to take a comprehensive look at the subject and come up with the appropriate measures to help young people overcome the difficulties they face in buying properties. I also like to follow up further, and if the Bureau cannot answer right now, you can give us a written response. We talk about mortgage and the down payment. During the last 4 quarters, there have been an increase in number of negative assets. How many percent of those involved in negative asset cases are young people? And how many of them buy the properties according to such and such plans? Is there a direct connection which causes the rise in the number of negative assets? If no answer could be given today, perhaps the Development Bureau could give us an answer after the meeting. Ms. Lee, would the Undersecretary answer the question and Ms. Lee can supplement? Chairman, I would suggest that the government will provide supplementary information on that after the meeting. Ms. Lee, anything to add? No. Thank you. Ms. Yung Ho Yen, Yulixiong? Thank you. Today, we're talking about home ownership, financial management, and retirement protection. Like Mr. Leung Yuk Wai said just now, young people are pessimistic about the future. I think 20 years ago, the salary for graduates are the same as they are today, while property prices and everything is more expensive. Very young people would dare to even think about home ownership. Some members suggested that we should consider the option of rent first and buy later. I think that suggestion deserves to be considered. Could we allow them to rent the property for 20 years, and if they are more financially secure, then they consider purchasing the property? Let's say they've worked for 10 years, they've just started to build up the established career. After 20 years, they will become senior management in the organization to work. So young people may need 20 years before they can, achieve the upward mobility. So home ownership for young people is a long and protracted process for young people. It's a struggle for young people. So how can they do better in terms of financial management so that there could be upward mobility for them? Home ownership is one such means, but we cannot. I think we should encourage them to make use of their income and resources. I think home ownership is one thing, entrepreneurship is another option. If they spend the money buying property, they will not be able to build their own, businesses. So I hope the government can help young people, allocate their own resources in an equitable, balanced manner so that they can have their own personal space, they can get married and form their families, while at the same time build up their own businesses. So young people now is focusing on helping young people to buy property. I think that is not too correct. I hope the government should conduct studies to explore how we can help young people increase their wealth, do a proper, manage the finances properly. I think in terms of bankruptcy numbers, 2020, 2022, 15% and 21% for those under 30. For those under 40, 37% of those bankrupt fall within those under the age of 40. So how can we help young people better manage their finances and accumulate wealth? I hope the government can explore more ways to help young people in those areas so that before they consider retirement protection. Nobody even dare to imagine how much they can save up by the time they're 65. So I think this is a long and projected process in terms of financial management and retirement protection. I think we should take a holistic look. I think the Undersecretary will start and then Ms. Lee can supplement. We've heard Ms. Young's views and questions within the government. We're not only focusing on, pushing young people to buy properties. So what Ms. Young suggested is what we have been doing all along. Our objective is to help young people find their own pathway to achieve their dreams and accumulate wealth. Of course, property ownership is something that we cannot overlook. Some young people really are interested in buying their own properties. So we need to give them proper support, and this is an area we will continue to work hard on. In the budget we just heard just now, there are proposals on how we can actually expand our economy. As our economy improves, we hope that there could be more, arenas for young people to build their own careers. Ms. Lee, do you have anything to add? Thank you. Indeed, Ms. Young, I think according to the survey carried out by us, young people who are I think the financial management, knowledge of young people who are at work has gone up more than half. During the first survey, 68% of them were not satisfied with their current financial position. In 2022, in the 2022 survey, 75% of the young people are not satisfied with their financial position. Of course, this has to do with the state of the economy and the epidemic. So the Investor and Financial Planning Committee, I think what we are doing is that Hong Kong being one of the largest financial center, we hope that through investment we can help young people to build up the right investment, attitude. So there are two major areas of work on our part. First of all, we will organize talks for universities and produce videos for professionals to explain them about the different investment types. For those who are at work, I think we hope that financial management education could be provided to the employees of different companies or organizations. Mr. Benson, look, of course, home ownership is what President Xi Jinping had asked us to pay attention to help young people buy properties. So there are two major ways for us to do that. First of all, youth hostels and also starter homes. Regarding starter homes, we've already learned about the type of such, housing and I think we've learned that you will make reference of the Anderson Road project. We really want to see how starter homes can help young people. I hope the Undersecretary and the Bureau will ask the Development Bureau to build more starter homes, because young people have been waiting for too long already. Especially in your blueprint, these are two of your tools, major tools. Secondly, could the Bureau also explain to us today the progress of the youth hostel program, especially the expanded program? It's not that everyone can afford the starter homes. So for the youth hostels, we hope to see some improvements. Could the Bureau also share with us more information on that? And thirdly, for young people buying properties and putting that together with retirement protection is a very good idea. I've talked to many young people, and they told me that other than getting married and forming their own family and having the room for them to make their own investment, they also care about their retirement protection. They say that if they retire at 65, they told us that the retirement pension that they get will not be able to help them pay for the daily expenses and the rents they have to pay. So for them, home ownership can ensure retirement protection for them. So, but then I've seen many provisional housing and people who live in those units have been able to only rent the properties and not, buy their own properties, and at 65 they have to move into the provisional housing units. So perhaps we can actually revitalize the MPF scheme so that young people can use it to buy, starter homes. So has the government conducted any studies in that to look into that possibility? Because this is one of the ways which members suggested that we should actually, revitalize the MPF. Perhaps Ms. Young could answer the first question, and then we'll save the second, third questions for the second round. Thank you, Mr. Lok. You mentioned the Start Home project. The Secretary for Development already said that after we've completed the study of the development parameters, we will make an announcement as soon as possible. It is our target that we would do so in the first quarter of the current financial year. Regarding starter homes, we have been working very hard to promote these projects. Other than the Yau Kam Tong project we announced yesterday, earlier we have also launched other projects as well. So we're waiting for these projects to be completed so that we can help more young people in need to buy properties. Perhaps the Undersecretary can also answer the second question. Regarding youth hostels, now, first of all, the original, we are still working on the original starter home scheme, working together with, NGOs. The latest update is that in Yuen Long, the Polong Kok Youth Hostel will, in the middle of March this year, I think they will start to invite people to lease the properties. There will be 1,800 units there. On the 6th of January this year, we announced that we will start accepting the expanded youth hostel scheme that is converting hotels into youth hostels, and we are starting to accept applications, and recently we've already received the first application. We are working hard to vet those applications. It is our target that the first batch of young people can move into such hostels. Ms. Lau, anything you would like to further add? No. Ms. Chemian, thank you. The three areas mentioned in the paper, home ownership, financial management, and retirement protection for young people, I think the focus should be placed on home ownership by young people. Like other aspects of youth policy, I don't think there should be any compulsory element to encourage them to buy properties. We should actually instead offer them more choices. For example, we've just announced a budget, and we have the Happy Hong Kong campaign, and the people may say that you may doing something bad with a good intention, because young people don't have experience in home ownership. We should not, dictate what young people should do. Instead, we should give them options to choose from. So, regarding home ownership, this is also related to retirement. If young people could buy their properties, then when they grow old, there will be protection for them when they retire, so that if they're no longer working, at least they would have, a shelter over their heads. Regarding financial management, if we have an effective market, if young people's income could catch up with property prices, there wouldn't be any problem. But the issue now is that there is the market is not functioning, and the government will need to resolve the problem. I think the solution, if I may suggest, is that first of all, the HOS scheme and the green form application HOS scheme, regarding the percentage in the drawing of lots would determine the chances of young people, successfully, buying those units. So for individual applicants and family applications, the ratio is 1:9. For young people, if they want to buy their properties, they will first of all want to form the family and then buy properties and get married. If we take that order, for individuals on the waiting list, if they don't get a unit for a long time, it would adversely affect the life planning. Would the government consider, adjusting the proportion, like 3 to 7 in the drawing of lots, so the more young people can buy properties?
The second question, Ms. Chan, I think you have to reserve time for the Undersecretary to reply. Now, for rent first and buy later, we have a TPS under the Housing Department, and we can consider a similar concept. And the third is 1 hour home ownership. We encourage this 1 hour living cycle. People can choose to live in cities within the GBA. Ms. Young, I think many of the views expressed are just views, and they are not really questions. Thank you. With regard to the allocation of PRH flats for individual and family applicants, now, in fact, we have with 30% allocated for elderly persons, and the rest is for family applicants. As I said, many young people are included in family applicants. Half of the HOS buyers are young people. As regards the tenant purchase schemes, the purpose is to help people, the green applicants and people living in PRH, to buy their own flats. If we relaunch the TPS, then we can imagine that there will be fewer PRH flats for allocation to the people on the waiting list. So there are challenges in relaunching the scheme now, given the keen demand for PRH. Dr. An Man-yu. Now, the government is running a youth hostels scheme, and the rent is pegged at about 60% of the market value. I think this is a good opportunity for young people to save up. But still, that is about $6,000 a month. Can young people have extra money for saving after paying rent? Now, can the administration consider refunding part of the rent after young people's stay in youth hostels, so that when they move out from youth hostels, they will have funds to buy their own homes? So can we have more measures on helping youth home ownership? Mr. Lau, thank you for your interest in this subject. On various occasions, I have seen Dr. An making known his views and asking questions. The purpose of the youth hostel scheme is to offer an additional option for young people, and through the scheme, we want NGOs operating the scheme to provide services for young people and to enhance their life planning. Meanwhile, we also want young people to utilize their talents to contribute to society. It is an empowering scheme for young people. Dr. An made a very good suggestion. While young people are staying in youth hostels, if there is anything we can help them to save up for the future. Now, as I said, we cooperate with NGOs. Hopefully, NGOs can offer services, including helping young people to build up a healthy financial management concept. And we also proactively reach out to different institutions, including financial institutions. And many of their employees are interested in serving as volunteers to help young people better understand financial management and on how to save up and to invest their savings. I'm sure after this meeting and after this concern expressed by members, the whole community will pay more attention to financial management among young people. I'm sure there will be more organizations and people from the business sector who are interested in contributing in this area. Any follow-up? Now it's my turn. My question is also on youth home ownership. The Youth Development Blueprint proposes to expand our youth hostel schemes, and NGOs may rent hotels or guest houses to run youth hostels. Now we have resumed quarantine-free travel with the mainland, and the number of visitors will increase, and it's expected that the hospitality sector may recover in the second half of the year. I'd like to know whether guest houses and hotels are still willing to rent their rooms for operation of the youth hostel scheme. Have you assessed whether we can achieve the target of another 3,000 units within 5 years? And the second question is, one of the conditions for staying in a youth hostel is to participate in 200 hours of community or voluntary service per year. Some are of the view that, now I'm just telling you this view, some say that young people should better make use of the time for furthering their studies, for upward mobility. Have you considered this aspect? Will you consider relaxing the conditions? 2 questions. I'll try to provide some short answers to these questions. Of course, we're all pleased to see that we have resumed normal quarantine-free travel with the mainland, and we are pleased to see that visitors have come back. That will help economic recovery. I'm sure this is a pleasing sight to everyone. And when we applied for funding from the Finance Committee, our intention is to provide 3,000 youth hostel units against the total number of rooms, hotel rooms we have. That is just a small proportion. I guess it's less than 3%. We have hotels approaching us to discuss this arrangement. We are confident they'll be able to provide more youth hostel schemes. Of course, our overall plan is to provide another 3,000 rooms in 5 years' time, and our team is working very hard to achieve this target. When it comes to community service, I thank the chairman for allowing me this opportunity to comment on this point. In our liaison with young people and NGOs minded to run the scheme, perhaps online comments have oversimplified the issue. The target or the youth hostel scheme is a youth empowering scheme. Through various voluntary services, young people are able to benefit more than the service recipients. Now, there is a suggestion that we can book a venue for a district carnival on a weekend, and young people from the youth hostel can together plan and run and publicize the carnival. This is also a kind of community service. It need not necessarily be boring, such as street cleaning, etc. Of course, with plenty of misleading information being circulated, and when we have the first two youth hostels approved, then we will let the community know how this scheme is an empowering one for our young people. Thank you. So we've completed the first round. Now we start the second round. We have 5 members who intend to speak in the second round. Mr. Lam Chan Sing, he had 2 questions yet to be answered. Mr. Edward Leung and Dr. Tan Yuan Hung, 1 question outstanding. Mr. Kenneth Leung, also 1 question outstanding. And Mr. Benson Look. All right, Mr. Lam Chan Sing, the second and the third question. And the second is whether the Shine and Rise program can include financial management education. And the third question is the YDC Youth Development Commission. The task force to be set up under the commission, can it instill our young people in knowledge on financial investment? All right. Under Secretary, can you please take the question? Thank you. Under the Strive and Rise program, whether we can enhance the financial management education, I will relay the question or the request to the bureau responsible for this program. And under the Youth Development Committee or Commission, we are going to set up 6 task force, one of which is on all-rounded development of our young people. We will take care of the financial management aspects of our young people, and our timetable is such that we want to establish the task force as soon as possible. In around March, or within March, is our target to set up the task force. Members of YDC will be involved, and we will also have co-opt members who are representatives of the respective sectors. And we do not have any plan to allow self-nominated members. Any more? Do you have any follow-up, Mr. Lam Chan Sing? Nothing more? Thank you. Mr. Edward Leung. Thank you, Chair. Well, to follow up on what I said just now, Ms. Lee told us that the junior secondary citizen economics and society subject will have an element of financial management, but there was only a part on taking out loans in S1. We have taken reference from overseas practice. In the UK, they have this £5 sterling challenge. Students are given £5 to do business. They can pocket the profit but must return the £5 to schools. And in Canada, they have also very systematic financial management education. They have practicums for business startups, and in when they are S4, S5, they have also got education, on taking out loans, etc. And the Federal Reserve did a survey, and it was found that for students that had received financial management education, their credit rating when they grew up was 29 points higher than their counterparts that had no such education. So can we consider doing the same in Hong Kong? They can have experiential learning. And then after S1, in senior secondary years, they can also have experiential learning to enhance their knowledge in this area. Ms. Lee. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Leung, for your information. I think it's most informative. Just last November, IFEC agreed to set up the first digital financial experiential learning hub. Is under preparation. We will take reference from good practices overseas. Hopefully we can do the same in Hong Kong. Our targets are not just students, even elderly persons and persons with disabilities and people from different sectors can take part. We can use simple digital means, and there can be different types of experiential learning.
When we will be able to have more details to help us understand, we are able to give you more information after the meeting. Under Secretary? No, nothing further to add. Next, Mr. Tam Hock Hung. He's not here. Next, Mr. Kenneth Look. Thank you, Chairman. I think this is my second round. My first question was about using MPF, contributions to help young people buy properties. So what is the progress so far, and what are the difficulties faced by the government? And secondly, I'd like to echo the chairman's point. I believe that for youth hostels, other than providing them with a roof over their head for young people, I think we can also consider this. Some people have pointed out that if young people were able to, get promoted in the job and have the salaries increase, further education is very important. So are the other, let's say, if a young people is studying for an MA course, could the hours spent on the course could be used to offset the time they spend to, with the life planning? Let me answer the member's second question first. That is the question regarding youth hostels, and my colleague will answer the question regarding the MPF. I've heard Mr. Lowe's point. Of course, we need to strike a balance here. Through different means, we would like to support young people to continue to further their education and to conduct their life planning for the future. So we've heard your suggestion. Basically, with the help of CGOs, we will design different activities and services for the residents living in the youth hostels. And we will be able to give you further details as we move along. But our aim is to help young people to build up a better sense of belonging to their society and community. That is the original intention of the entire youth hostel project. And I'll ask my colleagues from the MBFA to answer the other question raised by Mr. Lowe. Thank you. On the suggestion of using the MPF contributions to help young people buy properties, we've actually looked into that suggestion. The purpose of the MPF is for working, adults to build up savings for the future retirement protection. Of course, so this is basically means of retirement protection, but we need other supports so that they can get better retirement protection. So the MPF scheme it's a long-term investment process, so that members of the MPF scheme over a course of decades can accumulate wealth through their MPF contributions. If we keep the MPF contribution in the system until they are withdrawn upon retirement, young people will have a longer period to accumulate their savings, so that at the time of retirement they get a better amount of savings. If we allow young people to withdraw the MPF contributions prematurely to buy properties, this will go contrary to the original intention of the scheme. And secondly, it will also weaken the function of the MPF scheme as a form of saving for retirement. Also, there is a risk of fluctuating property prices. I think that risk is higher than that of the MPF scheme. Just because we want, I don't think if MPF contribution were used to help buy property by young people, and as property prices fluctuate and young people cannot repay their mortgage, then the purpose of retirement protection will be lost, and they will also be in debt at the same time. Given that interest rate is now rising, and there will be an impact on property prices, so we need to be aware of such risk. Compare with retirement protection scheme in other countries, I think we have to, other than that, given that different economies would vary. Take Singapore's retirement scheme, for example. They have 3 parts in the scheme: retirement, home ownership, and medical protection. So the contribution for retirement protection cannot be withdrawn to buy properties, and 23% of the contribution will be used for property purchase. So the combined contribution by employer and employee is only 10% in Hong Kong, and we don't have a designated account to help the contributors to buy properties. If we allow people to prematurely withdraw their contribution to buy properties, it will weaken the function of the scheme in terms of the amount that the contributor can get upon retirement. So this is a very complicated issue which we need to consider carefully. Chairman, just one more point. It's the first time that I hear the government telling us that they have seriously looked into this subject, and this is good news. So could we ask the government to share with us the findings of such a good study? So if you've conducted any such studies, perhaps the Bureau can share the findings with us, or they can give us such details in writing after the meeting. Yes, we can certainly do that. We can give a reply to members' questions after the meeting. We have not really conducted a detailed study per se, but we have compared our system with the retirement protection system in other countries. We can certainly give you more details in writing after the meeting. Ms. Kwok Ling Lai? For this part, I'd like to ask my question regarding home ownership by young people. The youth hostels have actually filled a vacuum and allow young people who don't qualify for public housing and who can and wonder whether they can buy their own properties after they have accumulated some savings. But I have one question here. As we all know, the Financial Management Authority, we have announced that we have 1,164 cases of negative assets. So the amount is quite large, and young people will be scared when they look at such numbers. According to a calculation, people cannot earn more than $25,000 if they want to qualify, and the release period is 5 years. Let's say they accumulate $10,000 a month, they can only accumulate $600,000, and that is not good enough to help them buy properties. So after 5 years, will the Bureau consider any further follow-up to allow the young people to extend the period of renting these hostel units? Secondly, on retirement protection, we understand that young people don't trust the MPF scheme because the MPF scheme is losing money over the last few years. I'm not asking that we should rely on the MPF contribution for retirement protection. But young people just want to preserve the capital so that they can preserve what they have earned. And they see that the administrative fees and expenses are such that in the end, when they retire, what they get at the end is less than what they have contributed. So they're asking whether the scheme actually is not, achieving the original, target or purpose of the MPF scheme. And during the interim, how can we allow young people to increase the assets they own so that they can have confidence in the future? The Undersecretary will take the first question, and the MPFA can answer the other question. Well, thank you for the question. I've already answered, the other members' questions regarding home ownership by young people and youth hostel. Our youth hostel scheme, of course, we would provide an option for young people to rent the units in these youth hostels. Within the youth hostels, I think we are working with NGOs to equip young people so that to help young people to equip themselves to better meet the challenges of the future. So we are not saying that in 5 years' time the young people will definitely be able to buy their properties. Regarding financial management, as I said earlier, our aim is that as our economy continues to develop, of course, we have to leverage on our unique advantages. That is, we have our own motherland as the support. So, and we hope that the epidemic will soon be over, so the young people will have more opportunities to accumulate wealth. And after they've done that, like Ms. Eunice Young said, what would be the options for these young people? Do they want to buy properties, or do they want to do other things? So they would have that choice. As for the MPF scheme, I'd like my colleagues to supplement. Ms. Chan, could you be brief? Thank you. We understand that young people may think that retirement is only in the distant future, and they don't understand so much about the MPF investment strategies. We will, on the one hand, enhance our system, and we also will step up our promotion to help to give them better retirement protection. For young people who don't understand too much about investment, they can opt for the DIF, for the default investment strategy, and there are several features there for young people who don't have too much understanding about investment to make use of the default investment strategy to help them accumulate wealth and to minimize the investment risk. And there is also a cap on the fees. We have figures to indicate that in the third quarter of 2022, for new contributors to the MPF scheme, more than 25% of the account holders opt for the DIF, more than 15% of which the members have proactively opt for this strategy. For those under 29, 31% have opted the DIF arrangement. In recent years, we have been actively promoting the DIF scheme and its benefits to young people, and it has proven to be very popular among young people. Also, we must understand that the MPF is a long-term investment. Of course, within our community, there have been media reports about the ups and downs in the returns of the scheme. But over the last 28 years, although for 8 years, including last year, we have had negative returns. But for 14 years in the past, there have been positive returns. And after periods of negative returns, the return would improve. I think through diversified promotion channels, we would not only educate young people about the MPF system and how we make the investment, we also show them how to make long-term investment and about our investment strategies. We would resort to videos we put online and social media web page, including Instagram and so on, and YouTube, to help them understand more about financial management.
Right, last is my turn. My question to the Bureau is, that is about publicity to young people about financial management. I think we adopt a rather negative perspective. For instance, we ask people not to overspend, not to be indebted, and then I think we are being rather negative. Do we have any incentives in our publicity to let young people understand that financial management should form part of their goals in life? Do we have any incentive to motivate our young people to learn to manage their finances? And the second question is for the HNYAB. Now we are going to have dashboard on information related to young people as proposed in the Youth Development Blueprint. Will we include fixed data such as financial management, etc., of our young people in the dashboard? Now, first, the dashboard on young people. I will talk about this first, and then IFEC will supplement. Yes, will we include such information in the youth dashboard? As I said in my introduction, we attach importance to financial management among young people. That includes data in this area. And IFEC has done a very good job in data collation, and we will discuss with the council later to see what sort of information or data they have in hand, and then we will work on that. Yes, Chairman, you made a very good point on financial management publicity. This is one perspective we should consider and have room for improvement. The Home Affairs and Home and Youth Affairs Bureau, and also the task force for whole person development of young people under the Youth Development Commission can iron out the details so that we can help our young people, or rather that will enable us to share with young people our ideas on financial management. The colleague from IFEC can supplement. Ms. Lee, thank you, Under Secretary, and thank you, Chairman. With regard to publicity, regulators must tell investors and the general public points to note. So very often, their publicity approach is rather direct and straightforward. For us, it's different. We have different ways and different promotion strategies to target at young people. For instance, we have seminars from experts in stock investment. So we use a light-hearted approach, to encourage young people to develop financial literacy. We have a psychology test. We have quizzes online to motivate young people to manage their finances. There are many financial institutions through the Hong Kong Association of Banks. We also encourage banks to cover their own clients. In universities, we hope there can be peer-to-peer influence, and the approach is quite effective. We will take on board suggestions from members, and we will carry out different promotional activities to attract young people in particular. Thank you. So all who intended to speak have spoken. Now we go on to AOB. We don't have any. So, date of our next meeting is scheduled for the 24th of March 2023, a Friday at 10:45. The items for discussion will be issued to you by our secretariat. I thank the administration and members from other organizations for attending the meeting. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.